let me ask you, when you said you were in a church in St. Louis growing up.
Yes.
So let me ask, was there a time like when you're in Louis and you're growing up and all of that is coming at you, did you felt a calling or you felt a nudge of the Lord then to serve? Or was it that it was so heavily dominated with that principle and that theology that you even felt ashamed around like even trying to? Where were you at in between those two?
Yeah, it was interesting because I grew up in a missionary Baptist church that took the missionary part seriously. So it was the first
Okay.
opportunity that I received to really serve people who were marginalized in,
Mm,
communities in St. Louis. We were part of a district that served those who were experiencing homelessness. So I got that experience very young. I
mm.
became a Sunday school teacher my senior year of high school. I felt called, to teach. And that was okay because you could do that. You could teach. Uh, but you couldn't, do so. I don't know if it was fear. I think it was me, one being young and only having the capacity to accept the part of what I believe God called me to that would be acceptable in the
Mm.
place where I was worshiping.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
To be acceptable in the places you are worshiping. That's like dual consciousness. You got to live in two particular spaces in that way.
Yes.
You know
And it is the
the
same way that I think women have to live now who have been called
true,
to the ministry. It's that dual
true.
consciousness. And so I feel like in some way I have been doing that for the majority of my life.
Wow. Yeah, I can see that, and that's why I asked the question because if there is a sense of calling, say it's a peculiar calling, not anything that is like what we're talking about now, but say I am called to prostitutes or something, right? And I want to reach prostitutes.
Yeah.
There is sort of like a pushback because there's not a lane for that. There's not like the prostitute ministry is going to meet on Tuesday at 7 o'clock and have a. There's not that,
So,
right? It's not in a particular norm, and so some people will repress their own unction of God leading them in spaces because it is not accepted, it's not understood. The courage, that's what I'm saying, right? To step across that
mhm.
is is major, like against all that has been either taught or involved or whatever. And then not only is it in that particular maybe congregation, but like you said, outside of it, the whole kind of world around that, right? That perpetuates that same kind of mindset, to the degree that folks are almost like shaming you, can be, because they believe
Yeah.
a certain kind of way about women, another woman, even another woman, in that same space, Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I think what you've just mentioned really is the space that I lived in. I had to evolve in my own thinking about what it meant to be a woman responding to God's call in a
Wow,
public ministry that required leadership and preaching. Because I
wow.
had been taught, that those things were wrong and that God does not move and operate that way. And so, for many years, I wanted to do the work, right? The servant part of ministry without publicly proclaiming that, yes, I believe that God has called me to a public ministry. I think it's interesting that you used like sex trafficking as an example because that was the
Mm.
thing that drew me to breakthrough. I
Wow.
have always felt like God was calling me to women who were in crisis situations, and my
Mm.
mom was a single mom, and I saw her respond with dignity and respect even when we were struggling to other people who have needs. So we were the Kool-Aid
Wow.
house. Like you could always come to our house and get Kool-Aid, if there was a family member who needed a place to live. So there was this example of just servanthood and humility that was
Wow.
lived out in our
Wow.
house. And when I found out that there were, some people who were actually ministering to women who were involved in prostitution on Madison Avenue, I got,
Ooh.
curious. And so,
Amen. Yeah.
I don't want to jump ahead, but I think that was also one of the ways that God really impressed upon me that at some point you have to do what I called you to do,
Come
despite
on.
what other people think is acceptable, despite
Mm-hmm.
your own comfort level. And
Mm-hmm.
so those are the things for me that helped me. I felt uncomfortable because of my upbringing and what I knew or what I thought the Bible said about
Mm.
women preaching.
Right.
And then it was outside of what I wanted to do. Right. I just
Mm-hmm.
kept saying, he's calling me out of darkness. Right. Like that's what he's calling me to. He's calling me to a life of holiness. And so that is what I'm going to pursue because there were not people when I was younger to support what I thought my calling was. Right.